Hello everybody, Stallions, Handsome Jack Boy here, bringing you guys the 8th episode of my Borderlands Enemies Guide. And really fast, I wanted to let you guys know that the series is going to be changing up a little bit. Instead of talking about every individual enemy, like one enemy per video, I'm going to be talking about every enemy within a group of enemies or like a faction, all in one video. So in this case, I'm going to be talking about the bandits and every single bandit in this video. That'll be just easier for me, I think, to get everything out of the way, and I think yeah, it'll just make the series go by a lot quicker, and I think you guys will like it because this was requested. So anyway, let's start this off. The bandits of Pandora are separated into 4 distinctive types, the first being your standard bandits, which are the gun-wielding, cover-using foe that you will commonly see within bandit territory. Next up, we have the bruisers, which are your really big, beefy enemies that don't use cover and just charge your position down, usually with heavy machine guns and rocket launchers. We'll get more in depth with them later on. Next, we have the psychos, which are your axe-wielding, melee-based enemies, which charge you down just like the bruisers do, and they also don't use cover just like the bruisers do. Except psychos, their goal is to get you out of cover. And once you're out of cover, obviously you're going to be shot at by other bandits that do have guns, so these guys are definitely one of your first priorities. And last but not least, you have the midgets. There is a midget psycho, which has basically the same mechanics as the psychos do. And then you have the midget shotgunner, which tries to get up close and basically shotguns you to death. So you definitely don't want to be up close to him, or you're going to get screwed. Now within each bandit type there are also subtypes, and here's an example. So let's say we're talking about the psychos. There's obviously different psychos, right? There's your standard psycho, then you've got the flaming psycho, and they all have like different resistances and vulnerabilities, and you know, they're different in their own ways. This will just make things easier to explain to you guys. Now the first bandit type we are going over is your standard bandits. Like I said, these guys are your typical cover using gun wielding foes, and we're going to start off with the bandit thug. Now bandit thugs are definitely one of the more easier bandits in the game. Even at early level, these guys are not that hard. Sometimes they'll have a shield, they usually carry small weapons like pistols, and they'll often throw grenades. Now bandit thugs on their own might not be that hard, but with other bandit types around, which is mostly the case, things can definitely be a bit more challenging. So my general strategy for when up against bandits is to use cover. It's definitely a necessity on playthrough 1 and 2, and it helps increase the odds of you winning the battle and not dying. And if you have a shotgun, I still recommend using cover, but just moving up slowly and close enough to where you'll do the maximum amount of damage, which is obviously close range. The next bandit subtype we have is the bandit raider, and they are the second most common after the bandit thug. Now unlike bandit thugs, bandit raiders move faster and more often. They usually carry SMGs and shields, and sometimes they'll even toss a grenade or two. Next up we have the bandit killer, and they are the third most common bandit type after the bandit raider. Now bandit killers, unlike bandit thugs and bandit raiders, these guys don't really stay in cover very much. They actually stand out in the open a lot of the time just so they can get a clear shot of you. So definitely stay in cover when you're up against these guys. And try to get a clear shot yourself with either like a combat rifle or a sniper rifle. Also, bandit killers are one of the more heavily armed bandits. They carry combat rifles, and sometimes they'll even carry a shield. And finally, last but not least, the final bandit subtype, the badass raider. These bad boys, unlike the standard bandits we just covered, are actually more or less rare depending on how far you are in the game because of the fact that they are badasses. Now badass raiders move really quickly and swiftly around the environment. They take cover a lot of the time, and they'll more often than not switch between cover, try to avoid your fire, and if the shields are down they'll let them recharge. So these guys are definitely formidable opponents. And what makes matters worse is that they usually carry an automatic weapon that is really accurate, so stay in cover as much as you can. Now the best elemental types to use against the bandits: shock for shields, fire for flesh. Those two elemental types, plus the general strategy of using cover efficiently, will make the bandits wish they never picked a fight with you. Alrighty guys, so the next enemy type we have are the bruisers. These big guys are high health, slow moving enemies which charge your position down while not even using cover. Now when encountering a bruiser early level, I recommend getting up close with a good close quarter shotgun or SMG and trying to score those critical hits. If you can land those critical hits successfully, you'll be doing a really good amount of damage to the bruiser. And what's even more nice is that if you have an automatic weapon or you just keep putting shots on the bruiser, he might not even fire back at you because he's constantly getting stunned from all the damage that you're doing. Now as the game progresses, the bruiser's health and firepower also increases, so I recommend staying back and using a sniper rifle rather than getting up close and trying to score those critical hits with a shotgun or SMG. This just ensures your survival. And as for the weapons they use, they're usually equipped with SMGs and combat rifles. With only two types of bruisers in Borderlands 1, this is the second one, the Badass Bruiser. So the Badass Bruiser is basically the standard bruiser on steroids, literally. They've got more health, they've got more firepower, and sometimes they could be caught using rocket launchers, and that's a scary sight. You can definitely easily tell them apart from your standard bruiser with just how big they are and their glowing eyes. Their glowing eyes really gives them away. Now the best elemental weapon type to use against bruisers is obviously fire. Keeping a good fire SMG handy, Hellfire, is a really good idea. The next enemy type we have are Psychos. Psychos are really fast melee based enemies which don't use cover and charge your position down just like the bruisers do. Except these guys, they don't have guns. Like I said, they're melee based, so they try to get up close to you and try to slice you up with their buzz axe. And their buzz axe, don't underestimate it guys, it does a lot of damage. Psychos are definitely one of your first priorities, especially when there are other types of bandits around, because Psychos, they could push you out of cover really easily, so make sure you try to take them at a distance, and when they get close, pull out a good close quarters weapon like a shotgun or SMG to finish them off. Now when Psychos can't get to you or you're just far enough away from them, they'll most likely pull out their buzz axe and endlessly throw it at you, which is a very little damage attack compared to when they're up close and personal and they melee you, so you don't really need to worry about it too much. It's more of a nuisance than a threat. Now when shot, Psychos can flinch, either giving you time to get away or to finish them off. Now when Psychos take enough damage, sometimes they'll pull out a grenade and rush you down with the suicide attack. It can do a lot of damage, and even after killed, with the pin pulled, nothing will stop it from blowing up. Now the next Psycho subtype is the Burning Psycho. Now Burning Psychos deal fire damage with their buzz axe, and they are resistant to fire dots. This could be a really big problem when there are other types of Psychos or enemies around and you have a fire weapon. If you have a really strong fire weapon, Hellfire, it shouldn't really be a problem. You can still take them down pretty fast and easily. They just won't catch on fire because they're already on fire. Also, just like normal Psychos, they will throw their buzz axe if they cannot get to you or you're far enough away from them. But unlike normal Psychos, they will not pull out a grenade and rush you with their suicide attack. Now, for the final Psycho subtype, we have the Badass Psycho. Badass Psychos are really large and tall enemies. They have one big arm and one small arm, so it's actually pretty easy to tell them apart from your standard Psychos. Also, Badass Psychos have a massive amount of health, but incendiary weapons actually work wonders against them and can bring down their health really quickly. A good strategy for when up against Badass Psychos is backing away while shooting. If you could put a substantial amount of damage on them, they might even flinch, which gives you time to either run away and get to a safe distance or to keep putting more damage on them. Badass Psychos will also sometimes stop to throw their axe, but they will never use the suicide rush attack. Now all of these Psycho types can wear shields, so bringing a shock weapon is a really good idea. But also, if possible, try to bring a fire weapon when entering bandit territory, just in case you might encounter a Badass Psycho. So now going over the final bandit type we have in Borderlands 1, the Midgets. There are only two types of midgets actually, and the first being the Mutant Midget Psycho. Now the Mutant Midget Psycho is basically a smaller version of your standard Psycho. They act exactly the same as them, They do the suicide rush attack, they throw axes of distance, basically the same strategy for these guys. They just might be a little bit harder to hit. Now for the second of only 2 midget types, the Midget Shotgunner. Now instead of holding a buzz axe, this little guy is holding a shotgun, and it does a lot of damage if you're caught within range. Also, when he does fire his shotgun, he'll fly onto his back and it'll take him a few seconds to get back up. This gives you a good amount of time to back away and finish him off. So obviously, the best strategy here for midget shotgunners is to take him out at range. Getting up close is just too dangerous. Bandits and bandit camps can be found all across Pandora, but there are some major encampments such as Headstone Mine, Janestown, Crom's Canyon, and Thor Digtown. Alrighty guys, I think that about wraps it up for this episode. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe for more. And I'm not really sure what I'm going to do in the next episode, you know, what faction or group of enemies I'm going to do in the next episode. So if you guys want to suggest one in the comments below, please do. And yeah, I'm out of here. Peace!